Number 10, unfinished business. We have none. Number 11, new business. Item A, adopt new policies and policy revisions. First reading. Mr. Ryder.
So the policy committee members approved at their October 18th meeting to move forward several policies for first reading tonight. There were 5 new policies that were all included in your packets. There was a revision made to one of them multiple times, but we did get it right. So hopefully everybody has the most updated version. There was a language change that we all did have in advance of this meeting. So hopefully you've had a chance to review that, as well as 3 new policies that came to us at that meeting. So those proposed new policies are 3240, 4113.12, 6141.51, 6172.1, 7230.2, 5118, 5144.4, 6140. So that is my recap.
Do I have a motion to accept those policies on their first reading?
Moved.
So moved by Ms. Pickett.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Second by Ms. Acree.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. So you're okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Second by Mr. Hamry.
Correct.
Okay. And now we're into discussion. Ms. Acree.
I have a question. It was stated, I think it was 2 meetings ago, that the word minority in this policy was offensive. As an African-American woman, I don't find that word offensive at all. I think of minority as a numerical, when you're talking about numerical data like the Republicans here are in the minority, or, groups, a large group versus a small group of people. So I was just wondering, did someone state that this word was offensive, like a student or someone in our community state this?
I'm happy to respond. One is, if we are using the term minority in a mathematical term, then it would not even pertain, because unfortunately our students of color are almost at equal statistical. Our demographics are drastically shifting. So that would be even more problematic, because if we are using the term, it's not defined in the policy. So if we are using the term minority students to describe a numerical group of students, unfortunately that term doesn't accurately define our students of color for Enfield, because they are fastly approaching not to be in the minority as far as statistical data, as far as our enrollment numbers. The other piece around that is there is lots of guidance coming from the state and kind of best practice guidance around racial equity in particular, where the term minority, and I mean this with all due respect. I totally respect your opinion and your perspective, and my job here is not to persuade you differently. You have a right to that. But unfortunately, you and I both don't speak for all people of color. And the recent guidance from the state and from folks around racial equity work is that the term minority is offensive because it is related to statistical numbers, and unfortunately people of color are not statistically minorities in many places, so then it doesn't make sense. And the other term is that they are people of color, and so call them as such, and it's a strength-based term. So that was the recommendation that I had made, to adjust that language to reflect a strength-based perspective and to more accurately reflect what we were discussing in the policy. And since the term minority was not defined in the policy, I think we needed to clarify who we were talking about.
Go ahead, Ms. Acree. Are you all set, or did you have something?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other discussion?
I have one item just on the revision of policy 5144.4. I'm totally okay with the wording there, so no adjustments. I just think as kind of a implication of the policy that it does reference removing recess if an alternate kind of option is provided. So we can take recess as a discipline measure as long as we are providing an alternate way for recess. And I would just really caution the the use of ever removing recess for a student socially, and the need for kids, if we know about behavior, recess is probably something they need actually more of, not less of. So I'm just going to voice my worry about that, but I will support the policy. Don't have any changes in that, but just thinking critically about how we implement that policy with our schools.
And if I may, just to that point, Amanda, and I may be wrong, but I believe that was brought up in the discussions about that,
Yes.
that it's that there's the physical activity part is still in there, and acknowledging that it wouldn't be done without taking into account those concerns.
There is a separation between the word recess and the term physical activity.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Kathy?
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Hamry?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Dr. Kalman?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item B, approve the 2023 schedule of regular Board of Ed meetings. Mr. Drezek?
Sorry, Mr. Longy was distracting me.
Schedule of regular Board of Education meetings.
Yes. So in your packet is this, you have to approve your schedule for the upcoming year's regular Board of Education meetings in accordance with your policy 9321.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the 2023 schedule of regular Board of Ed meetings?
Moved.
Moved by Ms. Pickett,
Second.
second by Mr. Ryder. Any discussion?
Yes. So the one date that jumped out at me is we have a regularly scheduled meeting during April break. And I know that on occasion we cancel meetings that happen during school recesses, not playtime recess, but school vacations. So if that meeting were to cancel, we would just follow our normal format and just perhaps schedule an additional meeting if necessary that month.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Kathy?
Mrs. Cushman?
Accept.
Mr. Hamry?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Dr. Kalman?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item C, I'm just trying to get to it in my agenda. The policies take up a big piece of. It's before the policies? Okay, let me get there.
Yeah.
Okay. In the past, we have had a CABE delegate, and it was Ms. Joyce Hall previously. And there's a CABE delegate assembly that is being held on Thursday, November 17th. Only delegates can vote on proposed resolutions. It would be appropriate for us to select a delegate and a representative to attend this year's CABE delegate assembly and represent Enfield. Therefore, we may take any actions deemed appropriate regarding the appointing of a CABE delegate to attend this year's assembly. Do I have any, should I make a motion and then do the discussion, or? Yeah. Do I have a motion to appoint a board member as the CABE delegate?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Pickett, second by Mr. Hamry. Any discussion? As anyone who would be interested in participating as a CABE delegate?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
Having not talked about it in advance, I would also point at Mr. Ryder and say him. If it's a nomination thing, if he would accept it.
I would. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've attended a couple of CABE conferences, and to also take Joyce's seat specifically, at least for this delegacy, and then we could address it further down the road. But yes, I would be honored to represent the Enfield Board of Education at the CABE meeting on November 17th.
So Scott, is there any, okay. All right. So I guess would the motion be that we're going to appoint Scott Ryder? Do I have to amend the motion? Yes. Okay.
It really should be included in that motion.
Okay, so I'm going to amend the motion to include Scott Ryder as our CABE delegate.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pickett,
Second.
second by Mr. Ungary. We had our discussion, so roll call, Kathy?
Mrs. Cushman,
Yes.
Mr. Hamry,
Yes?
Mrs. Acree,
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett,
Scott Ryder.
Mr. Ryder,
I will say yes, yes.
Mr. Ungary,
Yes.
Dr. Kalman,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion passes.